All right, so let's dive right into this thing. Today, we're going to be looking at the DevMac Reboot. It's making some waves in the military health IT world, I'd say. And I know, like, development, multiple award contract, that's a lot, right? But stick with me here. This is a big one. You'll want to know about this.
Yeah. You know, what's interesting about this is the DoD is basically saying, like, this is how we want to build the future for health IT systems, at least. You know, we're talking a whole new ecosystem. That means you, companies like you, bringing new ideas and tech to the table.
Yeah. And we've got these two documents here kind of guiding our deep dive today. They lay it all out, what they want. I mean, and honestly, it's kind of surprisingly honest about the problems they're facing.
Right. Like, very transparent. It's nice to see that. They're saying, hey, the old ways, they don't work.
Yeah.
They need to be, like, faster, more focused on the user, and they're not afraid to say it.
Right. They actually use the term burning platform. Like,
right.
It's urgent. There are some real needs right now in their EADS program. That's Enterprise Intelligence and Data Solutions, by the way. And they're hoping this DevMac Reboot is the answer.
Yeah, and that really highlights why this is such a big deal. You know, it's not just about filling some slots. They need partners, people who can help them, like, really change how they build and use health IT.
Totally. So let's get into these documents. They don't sugarcoat it. You know, the current state of software development in the DoD, it's tough. Outdated processes, not enough talent, it's all there.
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot of reliance on, like, the old school government contracts, and those need a ton of DoD experience, right? So that blocks out a lot of talent. Developers who might be amazing but don't have that specific background.
Right, it's like they're realizing they got to widen the net, get the best people from everywhere.
Absolutely. They're basically saying, hey, healthcare is changing fast, and we need to catch up. Think about it. Telehealth, all the health apps on your phone, AI diagnostics. The DoD needs all that, too, if they want to keep up with the best care. For the military, for their families, everyone.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So where does this DevMac Reboot fit in?
Okay, so this is where things get interesting. See, the DevM Health is how they're going to do this thing they call PEO 3.0. It's a new way of working, user-centric, you know, all about design thinking and focusing on the product.
Okay, so break that down for me. What does that actually look like?
So it's moving away from that old waterfall model, you know, where everything's set in stone at the beginning and there's no wiggle room. Instead, it's more like back and forth. You get feedback from users all the time and you change things as you go.
I see. So it's a pretty big change from how they've been doing things.
It is. It could really change everything. They even talk about creating, like, aha moments for users. That's how committed they are to building systems that aren't just functional, but also easy and enjoyable to use.
Wow. Aha. Moments. That's pretty bold for a government agency, isn't it?
It is, and it shows a real shift in how they're thinking. They get it. User experience matters, and they're willing to put in the resources to make it happen.
Okay, I like that. But how are they actually going to pull this off? Changing the whole culture of how the DoD does software. That's a big task.
It is, but the documents lay out a pretty clear plan. A big part of it is structuring the DevMac around, like, specific products.
Wow.
Each one's designed to tackle a certain set of needs within the military health system.
Products. Wait, I thought we were talking about, like, software contracts.
We are, but these contracts are tied to those product lines. This way, the work everyone's doing, it aligns with what the DoD actually wants to achieve.
Okay, that makes sense. So what kind of products are we talking about here?
Well, right now, their main focus is on something called DevSecOps Lite. They're open to suggestions for a better name, by the way, but the idea is to bring in a more, you know, modern and agile way of doing software development and a big emphasis on security, like, throughout the entire process.
DevSecOps Lite. It's got a ring to it, but I'm sure our listeners can come up with something better. So what exactly does this product involve? What kind of work are we talking about?
Well, it covers a lot of ground. You know, everything from attracting and keeping top talent to making the development process smoother and making sure the final product actually meets the needs of the users. They divide it into 4 main areas: Workforce 3.0, Workplace 3.x, DevEx, and CustomerX.
Okay, let's break those down, starting with Workforce 3.0.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that's all about building a stronger, more skilled workforce, right?
Yep, exactly. They know that to get the best developers, they got to create the right environment, one that's stimulating, supportive, and, you know, not bogged down in bureaucracy. They even mention the need to address, and I quote, what drives devs insane at a corporate level, which tells you a lot about how serious they are about making real changes.
It sounds like they're finally realizing that talent is their most valuable asset.
Exactly. And that leads us to Workplace 3.x, which is all about creating the best possible environment for those talented people to, do their best work.
So it's not just about fancy offices, right?
Right. It's about giving developers the tools, the technology, the whole culture that encourages collaboration, innovation, and ultimately productivity. They're looking at things like flexible work schedules, access to the latest and greatest resources, and a culture that values constant learning and improvement.
Okay, then there's DevEx, which I'm assuming focuses on the more technical side of things.
Exactly. DevEx is all about making the development process smoother and easier, so developers can build and deploy secure, high-quality applications without all the hassle. They talk about simplifying access to important data connections, providing comprehensive SDK libraries and API documentation, and offering various support services like help with security accreditation and cloud environment management, that kind of thing.
So basically, they're trying to create like a one-stop shop for developers.
Yeah.
Everything they need to be successful in one place.
Exactly. And that brings us to the final area, CustomerX. This one's all about making sure that all this development effort actually results in products that meet the needs of the end users.
So this is where the whole user-centric approach really comes into play.
Absolutely. CustomerX is all about incorporating user feedback, rigorous testing, and ongoing support. They want to make sure the systems they develop are not just functional, but truly user-friendly and effective.
Gotcha. So it seems like they're really trying to break down those walls that often exist, between developers, end users, and everyone else involved in these projects.
They are. This emphasis on collaboration and communication, it's everywhere in these documents.
Yeah.
And it's a big part of what makes this program so unique. They understand that to build successful systems, you need everyone involved, from the developers coding it to the people who will actually be using it every day. And that focus on collaboration, it's super important when you think about how they want to organize the talent for these DevMac projects.
Oh, yeah, totally. The documents, they outline a few ways to structure the teams. They talk about aligning by stack, like, back-end, front-end developers, or by specialty, so full stack, security, that kind of thing. They even suggest aligning teams by specific product.
Right. And what's interesting is they're acknowledging there's no, one perfect way. The best approach, it'll depend, right?
Yeah.
The specifics of the task order, who the companies are, all sorts of things.
So it sounds like companies need to be ready to, adapt, be flexible, how they structure their teams. There's no magic formula here.
Exactly. They got to think about what they're good at, what the task order needs, and then find the way that, uses everyone's talents the best without making integration a nightmare.
Makes sense. And speaking of task orders, the documents, they actually give a possible timeline. When the RFPs might drop, how the whole source selection thing might go. They're pretty upfront that how complex the order is, that'll affect the timeline.
Right. That's huge for companies to know. If they understand the time frame, they can plan better, make sure they're ready to go when those RFPs come out. You don't want to be scrambling last minute to put a team together and throw a proposal together.
No, for sure. Preparation is key. The documents also, they emphasize having a clear pricing strategy for the talent at the order level.
Yeah.
They even mention specific things to think about, like FAR clauses, data rights, licenses, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, that's where really understanding government contracting, the rules, the best practices, it's crucial. Companies got to think carefully about how they price their services. Got to be competitive, but also make sure they can actually deliver what they promise and, make some money doing it. It's a tough balance.
For sure. Okay, so we've covered a lot. The challenges the DoD is facing, the goals of the DevMac Reboot, how the program is structured, even how to approach talent and pricing. But what about the actual opportunities here? We mentioned ANIs before. Can you remind us who they are and what they do?
Sure. The AIDPMO, that stands for Enterprise Intelligence and Data Solutions Program Management Office. They're basically the ones making sure the right health data gets to the right people at the right time in the right way.
Like the air traffic controllers for military health data.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. They manage this whole web of data platforms, applications, systems, all working together to help people make good decisions across the military health system, I mean. So they're involved in everything: data collection and storage, analysis, sharing it with the people who need it.
And the documents point out some of the problems they're dealing with right now. Like, they specifically mention needing to avoid gaps in coverage when contract support ends.
Right, and that just shows how urgent this DevMac reboot is. The AIDS-PMO has stuff that needs to be taken care of, now. They need partners who can jump right in, they need solutions, and they need them fast.
So it's not just about long-term change, it's also about handling those immediate needs.
Exactly. And for companies that know their stuff in areas like data management, analytics, systems integration, this is a big chance to step up and really make a difference.
For sure. The documents actually have a diagram of how the EID's PMO is structured right now, like how different capabilities are grouped together.
Yeah.
And what's cool is they actually ask industry a question. Is this right? Are we grouping things correctly?
Right. They want feedback, which is smart. They're tapping into the knowledge of companies that are already doing this work who might have some really valuable insights.
Makes sense. And those insights, they could be really helpful when it comes to addressing some of the specific opportunities outlined in the documents.
Yeah.
They go into detail about two of them, the military health system, population health portal, and the clinical assessment management portal, or CANTAMPI.
Right. Both are really important parts of the military health system.
Yeah, they sound pretty critical. So
Yeah.
what exactly do they do?
Well, the population health portal, it's all about giving healthcare teams the data and tools they need to keep an eye on and manage the health of their whole patient population. Spotting trends, tracking outcomes, and proactively dealing with potential health risks before they become big problems.
I see. And CAMAT, the clinical assessment management portal, what's that one all about?
That one's focused on making the whole process of doing and managing clinical assessments easier. It's a central platform where providers can get assessment tools, gather patient data, and track how things are progressing over time.
So both portals are basically giving healthcare teams the information they need to make smarter decisions and provide better care.
Exactly. And the documents even get into two specific parts of SCAMAT, the traumatic brain injury portal and the patient-reported outcomes clinical record, or PROCR.
Those sound like areas where the DoD might have some pretty specific urgent needs.
Definitely. Traumatic brain injury is a huge concern for the military, and PROCR is all about gathering data directly from patients, which more and more people are realizing that's essential for truly patient-centered care.
Okay. So we've got a good handle on the ED's PMO, what they need, and the specific opportunities within DevMax. But how does a company actually win one of these contracts? What's the DoD looking for when they evaluate proposals?
Well, like we talked about before, communication and user experience, those are huge. They want to see that companies can talk clearly, both internally and with the government, and that they really get user-centered design.
And they don't want just talk, they want proof.
Yeah.
Show us how you've used these principles in your past work, they're saying.
Right. They even suggest things like heuristic evaluation, usability testing, A/B testing, as ways to show you're committed to user experience.
Yeah, those are all great ways to get feedback from users, figure out what needs work, and make sure that final product really hits the mark.
Exactly. The DoD is making it clear they want happy users. And they're going to work with companies that feel the same way and can prove they deliver user-friendly solutions.
Okay, so strong communication, user-centric design, that's the bare minimum. What else should companies think about when they're putting their proposals together?
They need to show they really get the big picture. The whole point of DevMac, the shift to PEO 3.0, the focus on the user and the product, they got to speak the DoD's language.
And they need to highlight their experience working on these big, complicated government IT projects, especially ones that involve sensitive healthcare data. Prove they can handle the new challenges of this environment.
Totally. And their pricing strategy, it's got to be solid, align with what DevMac needs, but also make sure the company stays financially healthy. It's a balancing act.
Lots to think about. These DevMac proposals, they're not something to take lightly.
Nope. But for companies who are ready to put in the work, the rewards can be huge. And not just financially. Think about the impact they could have. Helping shape the future of military healthcare, making a difference for the people who serve our country and their families.
That's powerful stuff.
Yeah.
It really is. We're talking about changing the future. Military health IT,
Yeah.
making things better for the people who serve our country. That's huge. It's an amazing thing to be a part of.
Yeah, no doubt. And that's something companies need to remember when they're thinking about this program. It's bigger than just winning a contract. It's about contributing to something much bigger.
I see what you mean. And it's clear from these documents that the DoD is looking for partners who get that. People who are truly invested in the success of the military health system.
Yeah.
Not just in it for themselves.
Exactly. They want people who are going to push things forward, who want to collaborate, who are good at solving problems. They want fresh ideas, people who aren't afraid to challenge the status quo, shake things up a little.
Okay, so for those companies, the ones who are ready for that challenge, what are the key things they got to keep in mind? Navigating this whole complex program, I mean.
Well, first off, they got to understand this is a marathon, not a sprint. DevMac Reboot, it's not a quick win. It's going to take years. Lots of moving parts, lots of changes along the way.
Gotcha. So patience, persistence, and being able to adapt
Right.
when things change.
Exactly. And it also takes really understanding the DoD, how they do things, their culture. It's not the commercial world. Different rules, regulations, expectations. Got to be aware of all that.
Right. And that's where a partner like Proposal Helper can be so helpful, right? They know all that stuff inside and out. Can help companies navigate the maze and put together winning proposals.
Absolutely. They can help companies find the right opportunities, figure out what the DoD is really looking for, and tell their story in a way that makes sense and shows off their strengths, all while aligning with what the DoD wants.
Yeah, and by working with Proposal Helper, companies can free up their own experts, the people who really know the tech, so they can focus on what they do best, building those innovative solutions the military health system needs.
Exactly. Everyone wins. Companies get the help they need to succeed in DevMac, and the DoD gets the best solutions from the best companies.
Totally. So to sum it all up, it's safe to say that the DevMac Reboot, it's a big challenge, but it's also a huge opportunity. For companies in health IT, I mean.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. It's a chance to be part of something that's really going to change things, to help shape the future of military healthcare, to make a real difference for the people who serve our country.
Couldn't have said it better myself. But it's not going to be easy, right? It takes a lot of planning, thinking strategically, and a real commitment to collaboration and innovation.
Right. But for the companies that are ready to step up, the rewards are huge. You can't even measure them.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the DevMac Reboot. Hope this was helpful, and we encourage everyone to, keep digging into this program. Think about how you can play a part in the future of military health IT. It's a big deal.
Yeah, for sure. Keep exploring, keep innovating, and we'll see you next time.